Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy Miller. Every week, I chat with fascinating people from all walks of life in order to bring you knowledge, inspiration, and insight. If you enjoy the show, you can support it by subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with a friend. This is the Jeremy Miller Podcast. Meg and Will Martin, welcome to the show. Stoked to chat with you guys today.
We are pumped. Let's go.
So you guys are from Australia originally, but you've been living here in Austin and just crushed HYROX Dallas.
Well, we're not living here in Austin. I mean, actually the one place that Meg and I have said, because we've done a lot of travel.
Yeah.
It's the first place we've come to that we said we could spend some extended time here. But we're out here for a month.
Why Austin? Was it specifically for HYROX Dallas?
That's a good question. So with how HYROX works, there's the normal categories for the World Championships. So if you qualify for Worlds, you qualify for age group. And then there's another category called the Elite 15. And there's a whole process to actually qualify for the Elite 15. And they made it one step harder this year. So you have to do 2 individual pro races. And the average of those 2 times has to be the fastest 15 times put down in the last year. If it is, then you get invited to a major. And there's 5 majors throughout the year. And then whoever comes first, second, and third at those majors, that's your top 15. And they race at the World Championships to see who's the best of the Elite 15. So we came over here because we wanted to get 2 of our qualifying times for the Elite 15. And we originally were meant to go to Beijing. We had a different strategy. We wanted to do Beijing, and then we went to do a different race. But without going into all the detail, we ended up picking 2 races in America. And shout out to Brad from Center that made it possible, because he was the man. He got us into sold out races, which was epic. So Meg and I, we work with Center, the equipment business back in Australia.
Oh, nice.
And that's how we got to meet Brad. And Brad has just taken over a big role at Center. So he was able to make it possible. We'd always heard good things about Austin. We'd heard it was like the Gold Coast, that is of Australia for America. And we had a friend who's also a podcaster, who's an amazing podcaster, Chris Griffin.
I know him.
And Lucy Davis.
And Lucy Davis recommended it. But Chris Griffin from Australia had just recently been out to Austin. And I think he's going to move back out here. So I'd love to introduce you guys. Because he loves running and he goes hard on the podcasts.
Nice.
Very good podcaster. And he just said, dude, it's amazing. And so we thought of, well, if we're going to come over there, why would we stay in Dallas where we don't know anyone, and then go and stay in California where we don't know anyone, and have to just be in 2 separate spots? Let's get a base set up and let's train and eat healthy, and then just travel to Dallas and then travel to Anaheim for the 2 races. And it was definitely the best decision we made, because we've loved it here.
That's awesome. Yeah, Austin's a great spot. We've been here for 3 years, and it's like there's so many like-minded people, especially I know you guys are both entrepreneurial. Like there's such a cool space for that here between fitness and self-employed people trying to start businesses. So that's cool that you guys like it here. How long do you think you'll be here from now till, you said like another week or so? Because it'll be a month total?
I tell you what's dope just about what you said about the people is that it's very different in Australia. So there's a thing called tall poppy syndrome. Have you heard of that?
No.
So it's this whole, it's just
All the Americans look at us like, what is that?
So it's this thing that,
What a good
it comes from back in the, anyway, it's this whole concept that in the field, when the poppies grow tall, the tall ones get cut down. And so in Australia, if people are excelling in certain things in life, it's very common for the masses to say, well, we don't want to see you succeed because we're not succeeding.
Really?
Rather
In
than
America-
in America, you guys just want to learn from other people.
Yeah.
And if you see someone doing well, you go and ask questions and want to be like that. Well, at least that's our experience with Americans
Definitely.
so far.
You guys have a winning culture.
Yeah.
As in, it's not, I want you to lose to make me feel better about me being a loser. It's more, well, I want to see you succeed because you put the work in. Congrats. I'm going to ask you questions about how you got there. Can you help me get there too? So there's no heavy agendas with the people we've met with. It's more just, hey, you seem like a good person. You seem like a good person. Well, you're doing some cool stuff. I'm doing some cool stuff. Like, let's do some stuff together. As opposed to someone saying, well, you look like you're doing better than me and I don't want to keep helping you do well. So there's, it's an amazing culture. Obviously, it's very strong in Austin as well, of people just wanting to help people kill it, as opposed to people being standoffish saying, well, you're already doing well. I'm not doing as well as what I'd like to be doing. So then I don't want to help you do what you do.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. It's like the mindset of a rising tide lifts all ships. If you're winning, I'm winning. especially like in fitness and in business. Like if more people are buying your socks, they're getting into fitness, they're getting into racing, whatever, maybe they'll buy my electrolytes someday. It's like that like mutual respect for each other, just want each other to win. I love that.
But Chris Griffin said that exact
Chris
terminology.
Griffin's the podcaster.
I love it. I got to meet this guy.
Yeah.
He is great.
You guys get along so well.
That's awesome. Okay, so how did Dallas go? First pro HYROX
It was
debut.
Will's first solo HYROX ever.
Man, I got smoked. So there's always a bigger picture at play, right? Whether we like to know what that is or not, as in whatever your belief system is, if you're in God or universe, whatever it is, there's always a bigger plan at play. And we very rarely can see that plan. And so we came over here thinking like we're going to come over here to get our Elite 15 qualifying times. But I was 10 minutes off the time that I've been training for.
You're not explaining it properly though.
Yeah,
As in-
well, just let me get there. But so I got sick. I got sick the week beforehand, and we spoke about this beforehand. When you're at your peak fitness, you're also at your peak susceptibility to getting sick. And I mean, we traveled over here really well. Shout out to CNC Private Jets. They partnered with us on this whole project, and they're our travel partner.
Nice.
They're phenomenal. And so they actually helped us get over here and helped us with the flights and everything like that. So they made this trip very possible.
Did you guys fly private over here?
No.
No
Like,
way.
damn.
No, we didn't fly private. But the thing is, we flew business because flying a flatbed makes an insane difference when you're traveling, especially when you're hitting a 16-hour time zone. The flight's a 14-hour flight.
Yeah.
But so we got here, got a week, got settled in, and then the week before the race, I got the flu. In bed for 4 days. So from Monday midday all the way till Thursday evening, I was just in bed, full tracksuit, sweats, fever, the works. And I just had this feeling that we just need to race anyway. I just had this strong feeling for Meg and I. Then unfortunately I got sick. I made Meg sick. So we got there and we hit the race line not fully prepared. And Meg raced first and I raced second.
You know when you feel the sickness coming on?
Yeah.
That was my morning.
It's like that little tickle in your throat.
Oh no,
maybe,
it was
or-
like an aching in my neck
Oh,
and
no.
body. I just knew it was coming.
It's
But-
always as soon as you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, something's happening today.
I knew. And I'd done so well to avoid it for 5 days. I was literally sleeping on the floor in our lounge room so I didn't get sick.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to race anyways? Like if you felt so bad. I mean, you could have skipped, right?
I just had this feeling in a shower at the gym. They just said, you're going to race this weekend.
Yeah.
And we're Christians, we believe in God. And I just felt like God said, you're going to race this weekend. And so I came into the race. I reckon I downplayed in myself how sick I was.
I told him not to race to give you
I
perspective.
also-
And I'm not like that. I'm the one that's going, get your butt out there. We're here for a reason. Let's race. But if you're looking at it if he hadn't have told me he had this feeling that he should race, then I would have said like, stop being an idiot and just don't race. Because we also have Anaheim 2 weeks. Now it's a week away. And you'd better off missing one race. And we learn our lesson not to race when you're sick. It's not a good idea. As in because you get sicker, as in after I raced, I was bedridden for the 2 days afterwards and I'm only just recovering now and it's over a week since we raced. So
Yeah.
learned our lesson, but obviously it was a good experience nonetheless anyway.
Yeah. Maybe that's it took doing that, like racing when you were sick to learn that lesson.
We're hard-headed,
It's like
yeah.
learn it the hard way, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But okay, so Anaheim. Okay, well, before we go to Anaheim, so pro singles debut, you ran 106, which is, I mean, that's still
106.46. And
I mean, okay.
I want to get this out there because
Everybody in HYROX dropped to the lower one.
So there's people record time in the rest of the world, and then there's what we call HYROX time. So someone can do like a 54.58. And they go, yeah, I did a 54. It's like, no, you did a 55, right? So
Fair enough.
I pretty much did a 107, right? A 106.46. But I'm stoked that I raced.
Yeah.
You always learn a lot when you race.
Yeah.
But I just didn't have that race gear in me at all. As in mentally I had it, but as in there was no way that I was going to give up in that race. I'd had it after the sled push. I came off the sled push and just went, every part of me right now, just there's no mongrel, as in there's no like, all right, we're going to kick this up a gear right now. Like, let's go. I came off the sleds a couple of seconds behind the guys that were leading it. But I just didn't have that engine to say like, let's kick it into gear right now and let's hang with these guys. It was more of a race of survival. As in, to give you some perspective, I went from 4th place halfway through the lunges and I finished 12th. So I had 50 meters of
It was
lunges,
hard to watch.
a 1K run, and 100 wall balls, and I went from 4th to 12th.
As in, he was
Oh,
passing
man.
out in the wall balls, and you can see his judge has got her hand behind.
Like literally passing out. Like you
No,
were-
I wasn't quite passing out. I mean,
You were wobbling all over the place.
I can't be upset with how the race went because that was everything, genuinely everything I had. I was hardly stringing together 10 wall balls at a time, and that's not how I train or how I know what I can do.
But I think the moral of the story is the fact that we thought we were coming over here to race HYROX, and obviously we had expectations of ourselves that we would get these Elite 15 qualifying times and everything like that, and we know we're capable of them. We've done race sims that we think are accurate and got really good times. That's why we came over, because we thought we could. But we actually, what we're realizing is that Austin as a trip has been so much more for us than just HYROX. And I think it's something that's important to talk about, because sometimes we have these plans that we like regimented plans of what we think we are here for. And unless we are open to what's actually coming our way, we can miss out on all of that. As in, if we were traveling, when we first came over here, I'm of the headspace, because I have a history of being an athlete, where I think we're not hanging out with anyone, we're not going to anything social, we are washing our hands, eating clean food, going to the gym, that's it, and nothing else. And I'm super headstrong focused on the goal. And I still think there's a time for that. But when we came over to Austin, I just said, you know what, I'm actually just going to appreciate the whole trip. I'm going to take some of the pressure off. I'm just going to try and enjoy the whole trip as a whole, rather than just only good if you compete and you win and you get the times that you want to. And I'm so grateful that I did, because before we got sick, we have met so many amazing people, had so much clarity on some things that we were actually looking for answers for in our life. And yeah, just met so many great people who have introduced us to other people and opened all these doors. So yeah, I feel like this trip was more than just a trip for HYROX. I feel like it was a trip for our whole life, which is really good.
Yeah, I love that. I definitely relate to that. Like, I travel a lot to do races as well, and it's like the race is just the excuse to go somewhere, to like go to Austin, or go to Tokyo, wherever your race is taking you, and then make the most out of it while you're there. Like, do a vacation or connect with people, do podcasts, whatever. Because the race is just the like surface level thing that's taking you there to begin with.
Yeah,
and that's what probably allows you to like get sponsors to pay to go travel and do all these things. So it's you have to have the race, but I like that mindset of just you got to live life sometimes too, and you got to experience it as a human and not just as like this really tight athlete of like everything's got to be perfect and dialed in. You got to like just loosen up a little bit. I like that. Okay, so 106 and change, we'll say that. And Meg, how did yours? Well, actually, before I ask that, so you ran, we'll say sub 107. What time won that race, and what was your goal time for that race?
So a good friend of ours, so Dylan Scott, he won. The hybrid raccoon, shout out to Dylan.
Is he Australian too?
No. He's American.
Okay.
He's from North Carolina, from Raleigh, where a good friend of ours, Doug, is from. And he goes hard, man. His training regiment is... We watch his stuff on Instagram, and Meg says, yo, check out what he's up to now. As in, he custom puts tread on the bike tread on the bottom of his shoes so he can go and push 300 or 400
You know how
kilos
when
on
you
the
go and
sled.
push sleds and your shoes start slipping
Yeah.
out? He's got a solution to that.
I mean, it's like...
He's Goggins style. It's great. I love it. He's
that.
an excuse crusher. That's what he is.
He definitely, that's a
Yeah.
great way to describe him.
I like that.
But he dropped to 58.12 or something like that.
58.12, 58.
But he's even capable of more, and he knows that too. So
That's so fast.
yeah, it was great to watch.
But I mean, real talk, people say this all the time. It wasn't a very fast course. Like you look
I've
at the
heard that.
guys, you look at the guy. I mean, it gets said, if people don't do a good time, they say, oh, it was a slow course. Legitimately, there are going to be courses that you can't get every course perfect in HYROX. They do a phenomenal job to try and do it, but everything's different. What we found with this course, it was the busiest race we've raced in. And you could see in the times that got put down, no records are broken, no one came even close.
And there was 3 Elite 15 athletes running in that men's race.
Dang.
Yeah.
But to give you some perspective, no one got an Elite 15 qualifying time at that race.
Mm.
And you had 2 guys at that in the Elite 15.
What would that time have to be to...
It's got to be sub 57.
Okay.
Oh, it's going to be 57, 15. I trained to go into that race. It was cool. We don't normally talk times, which is great. Great question. I trained to come into that race, and I'd train to go sub 57.
Yeah.
That's what I was coming in to do. So yeah, I missed it by a full 10 minutes. But at the same time, when I'm looking at the guys that I'm racing against that are at the level that I know I'm at, they didn't even get a qualifying time in that race.
Dang, that's
So,
crazy.
I mean, Dylan should be stoked that he won because he raced a great race. He went super hard. But that's just what it comes down to. And especially when you're racing for the Elite 15, in every other category, it doesn't matter. It's literally just placements. Elite 15 matters for time. And so sometimes you're going to get blessed with a course that's just rocking, clean track, everything else. And other times you're going to have a course that may be a little bit slower, that's a bit busier, but that's just the risk you take.
Yeah, I definitely heard from people that have done several HYROXs that Dallas was a long course. Like the Rock Zone was long, really busy track. Yeah. So that made me feel a
Section
little
was in
better,
the middle,
but-
so like everyone was stopping.
Yeah.
And you had to run up and down that rock zone, and everyone was stuck in that middle section. Everyone copped a few elbows from me, I will be honest. So I'm sorry if you were one of those people, but when that start goes off, I'm a different human. So
how did your race go? This was was this your first pro?
First pro, okay. Yeah. I mean, actually quite similar to Will. I felt shocking from the start, which is never the best way to start a HYROX race. But if I'm showing up, I'm going to give it my absolute best. And I genuinely wanted to stop from the sled push. I think particularly in Dallas, the sled push just felt terrible for most people. It felt really heavy and really sticky. And so I genuinely was going to pull out from after sled push. But pulling out is just not really what we believe in, as in we believe like if you show up to that start line, unless you've hurt yourself, you should get it done. Not judging anyone that does, but it's just what we feel in ourselves is the standard that we hold ourselves to. And so I just said to myself after the first lap, I just said, just give yourself until sled pull and see how you go. Because sled pull was my weakest in my opens. So I did a pretty dreadful opens sled pull time, and that was with opens weight. And so I have put so much work into my pull strength over the last 12 weeks to get stronger. I've put on muscle in my upper body. And when I got to the sled pull in the pro, it felt so easy.
Nice. And
that was a huge win for me. I if that's all I got from that, then I was stoked. And so
there's a great photo of Meg at the company that takes the photos she's put it on her socials, and she's pulling the sled and she had the biggest smile on her face. Yeah. And there's like this shock moment
because I was
thinking
just
like, yo, the sled's moving.
That's awesome. You guys got to send it to me. I can throw it up on the video podcast.
Yeah, it's pretty fun.
It's a funny photo.
I just look excited because you never know what to expect. And I just thought, wow, it's so good when you actually see your work pay off. And so, obviously, I think I ran a 105.38. I don't know. I don't even know the seconds, but higher 105. And I mean, I was going in there wanting sub 103. I felt like I was capable of about a 101. I mean, if you want to talk times, that's what I think. On a fast course, I could probably do a 101. But so I was actually really disappointed when I finished my race. But as soon as I finished and I felt how bad I felt in terms of sickness, I just realized, okay, well, Meg, you just dropped a 105 high with sickness, and I got belted after it. If you get a fast course and you're feeling 100%, you can do some pretty crazy things. So for me now, it's more that because you need the 2 times as an average to qualify for the Elite 15 races, and obviously they're on a time restraint too, and there's cutoff dates. For us, it's more of a numbers game now, where I think because we have also been sick, I know we're about to talk about Anaheim, but Will's actually got pneumonia, so Will is not going to be doing Anaheim, and I am still sick. I'm not sick, but you can hear it in my voice. It's not clear. So I'm trying to figure out whether I want to race Anaheim, because I've only done 1 training session since Dallas. So because we just wanted to get better, and honestly, we didn't really have a choice. It's not like the sickness where you just got a bit of a sniffle and you go to the gym, and anyway, it's a decision. It was more you're in bed because if you move, you feel terrible. So
yeah, I just want to make a point of this. If you're sick, you need a rest. It's your body saying you need a rest right now. And it's so important for people that want to compete at the top level, or someone not even competing at the top level has a race coming up. They think, I've just got to keep getting in the gym. It's like, you're not going to race well if you're sick.
It just puts more stress on your body when your body's already trying to fight the sickness off.
Yeah, I'm sure you might lose a bit of fitness and you might lose a bit of strength, but you're better off just fully resting and actually getting better, because every time you go to the gym when you're sick, you're going to delay the recovery process.
Yeah.
So that was what we tried to do before Dallas, and it was good because we didn't push it too hard before that. So we gave ourselves the best chance to race, As opposed to, I reckon we would have been much more sick if we just tried to ignore it and kept doing our normal training sessions. We would have come in worse.
Mm.
What would you say, is that the biggest lesson you guys learned from this?
Don't train sick. Don't be sick.
If it's not that, like, what would you say you learned? Maybe like
I feel
from
like
a training perspective, or things you do differently in the build up or even on race day?
I think, to be honest, we knew it was risky coming overseas and to compete in races. It puts a lot of pressure on you to perform on a day, to not get sick. Plane trips are the biggest place that you get sick, really. And changing time zone puts stress on your body. We do our best to negate all the variables possible, clean our hands, eat super healthy, do our recovery, not train too much. We do our best to do all of that. But at the end of the day, I mean, we are believers, so God's plan, obviously there's something that we don't fully understand that is going to happen for us. So yeah, it sucks. Definitely have had a few cries over it, but it is what it is. And one thing that I have realized, particularly since we raced, is racing is such a privilege. As in the fact that I'm sad over races that cost money, that, first world problems, that is just not, it's obviously important to have dreams and pursue them and go so hard, but at the same time, like, have a little bit of perspective on how blessed I am even to be in Austin. Whether I get to have a good race or not is just, it is what it is. It's definitely been a growth moment for me, I think.
Yeah. Well, if you're that type of person that's like you guys are, of like pushing and always want to get better and faster and all aspects of life, and then you miss the mark by a little bit, it's hard to not be upset at yourself or be upset in general. But that's a good perspective to have, because it's like just having gratitude that you're even able to do this stuff to begin with. So that's important. Very important perspective, I think.
And we gave it our all, as in we both left nothing out there. That's as much as we could have given.
I would have been disappointed in Meg, and I would have been disappointed in myself if we got off the course and said genuinely we had more to give. Because I've had a race like that before where I finished and I did a PB in a running race on a harder course than a flat course, and I was really disappointed with my race, because looking back on that race, I know I had more to give and I didn't give it. And that's only ever happened to me in 2 races ever, but they're the races that I think about all the time, was I never want to show up with the race number on and not go 100%.
Yeah, if you show up, you're giving it all, or just don't show up. It's kind of how we feel.
But it's okay to be disappointed. As in, people say, oh, like, it's just all part of God's plan, everything's all good. It's like, well, if you don't get disappointed, it just means you didn't care.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not disappointed. It's just like, you just need to be able to be vulnerable enough to put yourself out there to say, I am disappointed because I do care. Why would I put this much level of training in? Why would I have all these people around me wanting to make this happen so badly? And then I go into a race. It doesn't matter that I was sick. It doesn't matter that all these other variables. All that matters is, did I do the time or did I not do the time? I didn't do the time. Therefore, I'm going to be disappointed in myself. But I'm going to use that disappointment purely to reflect and say, what can I do?
And improve,
Yeah, what can I do different next time to not be in this position? Because I'm not putting in all this effort. I'm not using all these talents towards something to go and participate in a race. I want to go and be at my best, perform at my best, and do my best to see what I'm truly capable of doing.
But also, it's not like we're sitting here saying we realize that our times to most people would be incredible first ever pro times. It's not that we're saying we're not grateful. It's just we have this standard for ourselves of what we know we're capable of, what we train to do, and what we believe is possible. And I think that's important to have for yourself, rather than looking at other people's times or even the elite 15 times. Know what you're capable of and work towards that. That's when you should be happy. It's like saying, if you don't have a level of what you believe is happiness or fulfillment and success for yourself in all aspects of life, whether it's financial, in your relationship, athletic, whatever it is, then you're going to fall onto the standards of other people.
Come on.
If we went and ran, for example, if I went and ran 102 or something like that, I would have been absolutely stoked. Even though there's still people who are running 58s, I'm not comparing myself to the ones that are 58s. I'm going, I know what I'm capable of. This is my goal. And that's what I'm trying to hit. It's, even though I know I'll go pretty low, and I'm definitely working towards the 58s, but I also know where I'm at now. So I don't want to sit on here and think, oh, we're so disappointed because we did 105s and 107s for 105 and a halves for our first ever HYROX. It's because we have a standard for ourselves, not because we're looking at this time being ungrateful for the time, if that makes sense.
I love the perspective you guys have on all this. I would love to know what your guys' backgrounds are in fitness, because obviously you're crazy fit people, like super fast, strong. Like, what did you do before HYROX? And like, I'd love to just know that journey of how we got here today.
Yeah, Meg goes first. Meg's got a great background.
Well, I mean,
hang on. Meg's got a great background. I got to say, could have picked a different sport that produced more fruits than what she did, because she's going to say your sport. You're going to say, what's that
what
sport?
is it? I'll have to actually show you.
But the sport that she did set her up to be able to do everything she does now.
Ah, okay.
So when I was really young, from when I was about 3 until I was 10, I was a gymnast and high performance gymnast, was doing the 2 hours training before school, 2 hours after school. And the reason why I stopped was because there was just so much volume, and I actually also cared about my academics. So I just decided I didn't want to be an elite gymnast, and well, at least long term. So that's when I stopped. And then I went to a school that picked me up because they had this program for school aerobics. So it's called sports aerobics, and it's the best way to explain it is it's
freaking nuts.
It is nuts.
It's wild.
Sports aerobics.
It's a 2-minute routine, but it's like doing dance cross gymnastics, but to the intensity of CrossFit, as in zone 7 billion heart rate is what it feels like you're doing for 2 minutes.
Gosh.
And you have to be flexible on both legs. You have to be strong. Like you do one-arm push-ups, one-on-one leg push-ups in the middle of a routine while you're dancing, and you have to smile the whole time and actually present your routine. So I think that's also why now when I'm in pain, I smile, because I'm so used to actually having to smile when I'm in pain.
That's so funny.
But I think it set me up for any kind of sport because it gives you such good balance and strength, and I'm able to adapt to so many other sports. But I do sometimes think that it's huge in Europe. It's not very big there's a different type of sports aerobics that's bigger in the Asian and the US countries, but Australia's actually really good at it. It's just not huge. So reflecting, I probably should have picked something that was a bit more universal.
Meg was world champion at that school.
World champion.
Yeah, I did win Worlds.
Oh my gosh.
Which was funny actually, because
That's awesome.
Will and I won Worlds for HYROX last year in the mixed doubles category in our age group.
Yeah.
And it was funny because my older sister is also a world champion for sports aerobics. And my dad, obviously Will got married into the family. I also have a younger sister, but my dad, when Will got married, when we won Worlds together, he goes, I finally accept you into the family because you can be part of the world champion family. I just thought it was so funny. So, yeah, but it was my second time being a world champion, which I never thought I would get the opportunity to compete again. And I freaking love competing. So, yeah. But
I got to see a video of this.
Yeah. Do you want to see it now or later?
You can
I'll show you later.
Show me
Okay.
afterwards.
It's
That's
like
incredible.
nothing you've ever seen.
So it's like a type of, I don't want to say CrossFit, but like cross training. Like you just have to be very multifaceted, very athletic,
kind of like an
aerobically fit.
Energizer bunny
Yeah.
dancing around the stage for 2 minutes.
That makes sense for HYROX.
Yeah, but I mean different energy system, but same ability to push through pain.
Yeah. So you basically went from that. How long did you do that for until you got into CrossFit or to HYROX?
Oh, after I did that until I was 16, and when I actually started, I was really bad at it. But then I just worked really hard for 6 years and ended up being world champion. And then after that, I got into gym, started just doing standard lifting and that sort of thing. And then probably 4 years ago now, I started running, just not knowing what I was doing really, but just going for runs because I enjoyed it. And I started listening to Goggins in about 2019 and just started loving how running gives you the opportunity to learn to push yourself past that point of wanting to stop, because I definitely know how to do that, but I'm a big believer in that unless you use it, you lose it. And I think that running gives you that opportunity to continuously push past that point of wanting to stop and build confidence through that. And that's where a lot of my confidence has come from knowing what I'm capable of and that I really can do anything I put my mind to. So I'm a huge fan of running. But we didn't find HYROX until last year, actually. We competed in Melbourne and we didn't know what it was. We'd actually been overseas for the last 8 months, which I know we're going to talk about later. And we got back not fit and did Melbourne HYROX. We actually dropped a high 58. Don't worry, I'm giving it labels. High 58 in Melbourne, which was really fast for the time.
This is mixed doubles?
Yeah, this was last year though. And I think the record at the time was...
we just spent 8 months overseas for Mega, going out and sourcing all the fabrics, meeting with all the manufacturers. We had a one-way ticket over to Europe. We had no return flight back and we ended up overseas for 8 months. The last place we went to was London, and Meg went out and met and caught up with Lucy Davis.
Nice.
Do you know Lucy Davis?
I've never met her in person, but yeah, I know
She is
who
a weapon.
She's a weapon.
Crazy.
Such a good person. And so it just got beaten actually, but she did her first solo opens race and got the world
I
record.
saw that.
Which was
Got
sick.
beaten like 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Sucks.
But she still got it, right?
Yeah.
And so we went out and we met and caught up with Lucy, and Lucy was saying to us, so surely you guys have heard of HYROX, and we'd never heard of it. And then just by, I shouldn't say coincidence, divine time, the week after we got back, there was a race in Melbourne, and it was the first time HYROX had come to Australia. They did first year, which was last year, they just did Sydney and Melbourne, that was it. And so they had Melbourne on. And so we rocked up to Melbourne. No idea what we were doing.
It was hilarious.
As in, we got to say this story. The week, so we got back, we heard about it for a week. And so we went, great, let's go and do this race.
This is such a funny story.
Went to the gym. Oh, I said to Meg, look, we should probably run through these movements before we do the race.
I mean, I don't ever do sled push. I don't know if I can push that.
I don't think I've done sled push or sled pull ever. Go to the gym. And this is when we first realized that not every carpet is the same. There's AstroTurf, then there's HYROX carpet, and there's different types of AstroTurf, different types of sleds. So we set up, we do a warm-up. We know how to warm up and train. So did a whole warm up, got all the stations set up, and then had to write down on a piece of paper what we're doing at each station because we didn't know.
No idea what it was.
I've just gone and loaded the weights up. And now this isn't pro weight, right? This is mixed pairs weight. So this is
It's pro women's.
Pro women's weight, but open weight for men's. So it's not that heavy. Loaded all the weights up on the sled. So we go run, come back, ski, run, come back. Meg goes to hit the sled first. Bang, hits a sled. This thing doesn't move a centimeter, right? Just goes, oons. And I go, come on, Meg, let's go. She goes, I'm really trying.
Yeah, I got it.
Hits it even harder. Her feet just slide out and she just lands on her belly.
Didn't go anywhere.
And then she goes, I can't move it. So I jump on it. I find it really hard to move, but I move it. And I say, no stress. I'm always just half glass full guy. I said, no stress. Like, this is easy. I'll just do the sled push and then you can do some more stuff later on in the race. Get the sled pull. She can't move sled pull. So then I'm like, okay, I'll do all of sled push.
As if I was going to be able to move sled pull if I can do sled push. Like, what?
But this is the funny part. Then we get to burpees. This is Meg's girl math. Then we get to burpees. And,
Don't be saying girl math.
we get
I
to
know all
burpees.
about-
Watch yourself, buddy.
We know all about girl math.
So I'm thinking, hang on.
good at math.
I've just done all sled push, all sled pull, which realistically I should be doing anyway. And then we get into burpees. And then Meg said, okay, we'll just split this 50-50. And I was thinking, no, you're going to split this 100% you, and I'm just going to walk and rest on the burpees.
But we also didn't understand any of the strategy of HYROX.
So that was our intro into racing. So we rocked up thinking, I have to do all sled push, all sled pull. And then, but the good thing at HYROX is they have workout. They have a
Warm-up
area that has the movements in there. And Meg jumped on the sled, just went boom and just slid it. And then we went, right, this isn't what it's going to be.
We
And
actually
so-
ended up dropping the fastest sled push time of the whole Melbourne
Oh my
competition.
gosh.
Yeah, 'cause
Because
we
your
did-
training was shit way heavier.
Yeah.
well, we just hit it so hard.
No, the AstroTurf was
Or the
grippy
turf.
that we were.
I think it was a minute. Anyway,
Yeah, so
we
Worlds
did,
was our second
yeah,
ever
we did the
race.
first race.
Crazy.
Did the first race, came first there, and then from that we qualified for Worlds. And there were no other races in Australia. That was it. It was done. So then our second race was Worlds. And then so the second race went over to France, which was such a dope experience. And then we raced pairs at Worlds, which was it was a tough race. Again, traveled and got sick. But we raced on the day and it was such an epic experience.
Do you know what I think is so funny is sometimes I hear HYROX athletes complaining about how far they have to fly to get to their races, and it's like 3, maybe 5 hours. I'm thinking try 30 hours.
Yeah, I mean, that's like
from
the
Australia.
complete opposite side of the world.
Yeah.
Dang. So, and you guys won world championships there, right?
Yeah.
We won our age group.
Okay.
And we're actually not. We'll
We
be
came
real.
third overall.
We were disappointed with the time because we wanted to go. We wanted to go 50. That was the goal
Close to
for
50
it.
minutes as possible.
And we did
So
55.
fast.
That's a huge difference, right? But it was more of in that race, we were just hanging on. Like we were definitely spent. So we didn't get the fastest pairs time at Worlds. We just won our age category
third
of under 29. We came third for that. So looking at what we knew we could do, because we did put a good training block in for that, that was disappointing in knowing what we could do. But it was also epic, and you got to celebrate the wins. We're the first Australians to ever get gold.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
No other gold.
That's incredible.
For Australia. Still, obviously, that was the
That's
only
awesome.
gold.
Dang. Is HYROX big in Australia? Like, is it?
It's huge now.
Really?
It's gone nuts.
Probably
You're
thanks
not
to you
doing
guys, partially.
HYROX. What are you doing?
Yeah. Well, I think you were saying before we came in, as in people are doing certain things because it's helpful for their business or helpful for their social media and things like that. It was running and marathons, and then it was ultras, and now it's HYROX.
But I will say, I think HYROX gives people such a great opportunity to feel good. As in, if that's the best, this is the best you will feel in training when you're doing running and gym, is what I believe. I think hybrid is the best functional fitness for your life. So I understand why people like HYROX, and I do think it will hang around. Plus, it gives people an opportunity to feel like athletes, everyday people. 100%. So I'm a huge fan of it.
Yeah, because it's not the training, the industry of making money, right, comes from overcomplicating things. It's super complicated. You got to work with us or else you're going to know nothing.
Right.
But the reality is training for HYROX is really complicated because you got all the movements, then you got the running, and it's not just running, it's running compromised. So there's actually
like max heart rate.
There's such a science behind everything you do in HYROX for optimizing what you do. And so that's a big part of our business is we have Train to Go Squad, which is online training programs, started in running programs called Run Mega. Then HYROX got released, and then Meg's recently released Build a Booty, which is a glute growing program for mainly for women, but guys and girls definitely do it.
Yeah.
But I will say not only to grow it, but to make it strong too, because there is definitely a difference, especially when it comes to running.
For sure. I mean, you could just eat a bunch of croissants and get a big ass if that's what you want.
But I mean, like, how many times do you hear people saying, oh, I have pain because my glute med is weak?
Yeah.
As in, that's more what I'm meaning. As in, it's targeted to not only make you have a voluptuous booty, but to actually have strong glute meds and mins, because that's key to being a hybrid athlete too.
For sure. I
Yeah,
love
so
that.
that's been epic with us doing the sport. And then obviously Meg's background is this is what she studied at a university.
Yeah.
Or college, if you're American.
College, if you're American.
We say university.
Do you? Oh, yeah, UT.
Yeah.
UT.
They're interchangeable over here, though.
Okay.
College or university. But, dude, I want to know your journey into HYROX and just fitness in general.
Yes, sick.
Oh, I did miss that actually, that we got into ultra marathons in between the running, as in then we started running ultra marathons, but more from mindset point of view. But I'm sure you're going to say
that's the best part about ultras.
Yeah.
It's so mental.
It is all mental.
Yeah.
And I love that when you get to the start line, you cannot pick who's going to win. As in anyone could win. You can't tell. It's not like a marathon where probably the skinniest dude wins.
Right.
But it's like anyone could win. It's who wants to hurt the most, which is quite similar to HYROX actually.
Yeah.
But you go.
Well, I just finished that piece on Train to Go Squad. So it's been epic, Meg launching her programs and having that. Because we when we finished our races, obviously we were a bit disappointed with the times. Afterwards, Meg just had a girl from America walk up to her and their whole crew and say, hey, I had to come over and say hi. And they followed Meg's programs. They did the running program, they did the HYROX program, and it gave us so much confidence in terms of doing the running races and the HYROX race. And that's what's so amazing about the internet and social media when it's used well, is that you can connect with so many people and just spread so much information. Because if you meet someone training for HYROX, one, they're really nervous because they think, I don't really know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And then two, you say, what are you doing? And the most common answer is, I'm just on Instagram, I'm using ChatGPT, I'm looking at certain
Or I'm
things.
just trying to run and do some lifting. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah,
That's
Meg
basically my approach.
well, I mean, and the thing is, but that might work for some people because you're doing it for the journey, you're learning it yourself.
Right.
Other people want to do it with the experience of having a good time in racing and building confidence from doing those sorts of feats. That's when Meg's programs crush it. Is that because it just takes all the guesswork out of it? But then being able to travel overseas, we didn't think we knew anyone in Austin. We didn't think we were going to know anyone at Dallas, and have someone from overseas, a whole crew of them come up and say that to Meg, isn't it?
It was more than one. I had
That's
heaps
so cool.
come up in Dallas. I was so flattered and excited. It was actually one of the best parts of the race was it's so many people came up and said, I'm doing your program, and I just raced and it was so great. It's so nice to hear.
That's
because
awesome.
a lot does go into the programs. They're not really standard programs, particularly the running ones are focused more around mindset than just running, as in obviously you can start running, but people go, well, I just want to stop running. Like, how do you actually get into putting down kilometers and pushing past that point of wanting to stop? And we literally detail over the 8, 10 or 12 weeks, you have a mindset challenge every single week. And it's just from my personal experience, what took me from being someone who was quite fearful and negative and lacking in confidence to pretty much earning my confidence and knowing who I am because I put in the work to build the stack of undeniable proof, as Hormozy says, that you are who you say you are and you are capable of doing it. And so that's why I'm so passionate, particularly about the running programs, because they have the mindset component that builds the confidence in you. Like if people had more confidence in themselves and how special they are being who they are, and they would have the confidence to go and pursue their passions. And I believe that everyone's greatest contribution to humanity is to pursue their passion.
Facts.
That's the greatest gift you can give to the world, is to do your passion. And imagine how happy everyone would be and how joyful and how much more helpful everyone would be and fulfilled. That's definitely why I'm passionate about it. But we've gone so rogue. Back to the start.
No, I love that. I love hearing all this stuff. We'll definitely put a link if people want to check out any of the programs.
That's so nice.
I'll put a link
Thank you.
in the description of the podcast so people can check it out. Yeah, because I mean, I love that mindset component. I don't see a lot of training programs that have that. It's just like run this many miles or kilometers, do this workout, and that's it. But as you know, like running endurance sports, it's so mentally demanding. So having that piece is important. But okay, your fitness sports journey. Let's hear it. I want to know how the hell you're so fast and fit.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm loving this season of my life right now, is that because so all of my 20s was all business. I had a construction and property business with my brother. We just worked all the time. I loved it. Don't regret any part of it. And we had a lot of success all through our 20s in doing that. My sports during that time was, I've always loved extreme sports. I was really focused on backcountry skiing and big mountain skiing, and then big wave, or just surfing in general and big wave surfing. Nice. But the thing was that we never made enough time to do it to the full extent to be at the top of the field. So, I mean, I've made some dope videos across YouTube on my skiing back when I was a bit younger, and I love doing that sort of stuff.
Yo, he was sponsored by GoPro, and his video has like 200K, and they don't even have followers. Yeah,
that's sick.
Yeah,
sorry,
so I missed.
I love that.
Old humble over there. So.
I missed the jump on YouTube. 12 years ago, we put out a video called "In the Season," and yeah, it got 200,000 views, and that was 12 years ago. So
that's awesome.
And then I think we had 400 subscribers. So I definitely missed the YouTube jump, but I wouldn't be sitting here, right? So the question was, in terms of sport, the pinnacle for me is the fear right before you do something.
It's so weird.
And I don't really feel it as fear. I love the emotion that you get right before you're about to jump into something. So if I'm at the top of a line skiing, coming down to hit a huge jump, or hitting a technical line, or knowing that I want to get this thing filmed in a certain way, I've got one crack to ski it a certain way, that's the feeling that I definitely seek. I love that feeling. And so
it's so weird.
A lot of people would say their most hated part of HYROX is in the box right before they start. Yeah. That's by far my favorite. Because if you think about it, right, when else in your life do you get to feel like that?
Never.
When else do you actually get to stand there and think, there's all this pressure, nerves, excitement, whatever you want to call it. When do you get to experience a feeling like that?
It's so rare. Really never. Unless you put yourself in that position.
But yeah, you can do it all the time, right? You sign to a bunch of races, start businesses, ask to go out on a date that you don't want to be doing because you're nervous. Like there's all those scenarios in life. And because then when you succeed from that, it just makes that feeling that much better. And so the goal for me is not to go out and get the time or the finish or everything else like that. The goal is for me is to be put in that position of being uncomfortable, because like that's where the growth is. Yeah. And that's when things shift. So big mountain skiing and surfing, that for me, that was everything that we did for sport going through there. And I always kept fit. Like I always like to run a couple of times a week, but I never did any marathons or half marathons and things like that. So now that I'm not involved in those companies anymore, and Meg and I are doing everything with Mega and Train to Go Squad, it works perfectly for us to be in the space of doing training and doing races and things like that, because it's not a distraction from what I'm doing. It's a direct complement.
As in, he's only just gone from just being a regular person who runs a few times a week and goes to the gym twice a week to full-on training in the last year. So this is him after only a year of proper training.
But I love it. That's the difference, though, is that I genuinely love it. I get excited about the training session and what's coming up.
Actually, when I met Will, he didn't like gym. He didn't like going and just lifting weights. He thought it was boring until I remember you started doing those CrossFit hectic classes, and then you liked it.
I mean, here's a life lesson. You're never going to be passionate about something that you don't see the real life application to, period.
Right.
So look at all the people that go through school, and My brother's a great example. Failed math all through school. Now he's probably one of the smartest people in business that I know and ran all the finances for our business. Once it becomes applicable and you see the real value in it, you'll want to go in on it. So that was me with gym. I thought going to the gym, lifting weights, doing squats and things like that, I hated it. It was the most boring thing ever.
Yeah.
Even though, oh, you feel better, you look better. I
love
couldn't
it.
understand someone that went to the gym to just go and lift weights.
Yeah. That's so true.
I was lost to it. But then when we started doing HYROX and now I've got the application to do it, nothing about the gym has changed. It's still the same gym. You're still doing the same movements. But my application for the gym has changed. Now I love it.
Yeah.
So it's more as in, that's why I love doing it now. I'm loving the process is because where the process gets to go is something that I see real application to, that I'm getting fulfillment, value, whatever you want to call that out of it. So it's just find something that's worth working towards, and all of a sudden you'll start enjoying the process.
Yeah. You got to find the why. That's what it's all about. Like, why am I doing this? If you can't answer that question, then why are you doing it at all? I love that. I'd love to know your guys' training perspective or your training philosophies, I guess. Because obviously whatever you're doing is working. You guys are so fast and fit. Like what, maybe walk us through like a training block from a kind of a macro perspective, and then like a week perspective.
You got this.
I should take it. Well, for this race, we had a 12-week block. So we did, I would say the start as a macro cycle, the start was more focused around strength. We went really heavy on strength, particularly for me, because I didn't feel like I was strong enough. Will needed to put on a significant amount of muscle too. So strength at the start, obviously longer aerobic base at the start too, building a base, building our strength. And then as we got closer towards competition, it was getting more specific into HYROX, more intensity, more volume, less longer runs. Still, we would do one 90-minute run still, but we were doing 2 long runs for a period of time there because we did have a bit of a gap in our aerobic fitness. However, I'd say this prep 2 was a little bit different because we were sick for so long, and I realized that this sickness thing is a reoccurring theme, and we are working on it, but we just haven't figured it out yet as to how to avoid that, apart from the only thing we've got right now is probably wash our hands more. But as in, we lost our fitness because we were sick. We got influenza in Australia. So this block had to be get all your aerobic fitness back, get all your strength back, which is why we had a huge aerobic block, huge strength block. And then, as we got closer to the competition, it was more high intensity, lactic threshold sort of things. So in terms of like week to week, I'm trying to think how to explain it.
In other words, the block was a foundational block.
Yeah.
And that's how we look at all training. As in, if you're going to have a goal, have a look at what's important to lay down first and then build off the back of that. So we knew that we needed to work on our zone 2 and work on our strength.
We kind of need to work on everything. So we were building ourselves back up.
Yeah.
But even if you work on everything, you got to start at one point. So we were just doing straight strength work, as in just squats, bench press, curls, chin-ups, just fundamental strength work, and then zone 2. That was the first 4 to 6 weeks. And then once we had that good foundation, that's when we started to incorporate some more quality sessions in the running, and then some more compromise sessions between HYROX and but to the HYROX movements and running. And then as we got towards the end, it was really fine-tuning it. So having really quality sessions on the track, clocking serious 1K reps on the track. And then it was because we already had the strength, we weren't doing so much just straight strength work. It was more compromised. So yeah, always focus on the foundations. And then once you got the foundations right, then you can really start to hone the back end.
Kind of like getting the kilometers in your legs first and then making them more intense and what's the word, quality sessions rather than just running to get the kilometers in, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. That's similar to like a marathon block, sort of like you start that like foundational, a lot of like aerobic miles, and as you get closer to the race, more like faster, high intensity stuff.
Yeah.
Nice. What would like a week of training look like after that foundational period where it's like now we're specifically focused on HYROX type stuff?
I'll say if you're looking at our running sessions, so we would have one long run. We'd have.
Why do you just go on Monday to Sunday?
Well, because I'm just going to say the sessions. It's just going to be easier. So how about you just let me answer the question? So when I think of it as 2 blocks. So we would do, I may not get it 100% right, but we would do a long run. So normally a 90-minute run. We'd have an interval session. So they would build up and then get shorter and more intense, if that makes sense. So an example session would be 8 1K reps with 90 to 2 minutes rest in between each set. It's pretty classic. Most people do that session. We'd have a tempo run, so consistent hard pace for a period of time. What's our other one? Probably a shakeout run. And then we'd have 2 strength sessions, and normally a HYROX specific focus session. So one of those flog yourself sessions. But in terms of intense sessions, there's only 2 that we really hit in a week, like really intense ones. And that would be the HYROX session and the intervals, the track intervals. There are 2 quality high intensity sessions, and that's something that I really want to emphasize, because I feel like people, when they're new to HYROX, they think they've just got to train HYROX every day and all the time, and one thing that's going to do is make sure you get injured or sick.
Yep.
And obviously I know that I'm sick, but I got sick in the lead up to competition, not during our actual training preparation phase. So yeah, to get better at HYROX, you don't need to do more HYROX. You need to build base aerobic fitness and strength, so that then you can do better when those times actually come around, and do quality sessions. I do think at the moment, there's currently no right way to train for HYROX because the sport is so new. Even at the top, you look at all the people's training sessions that are at the top of the individual categories, they all do train differently.
They're so different.
Yeah, there's definitely some consistent themes, but you also have to consider what their backgrounds are. So maybe the ones that have more of an aerobic-based background, they are doing more high-intensity stuff and have to do less kilometers because they've already got such a good base of training history and years of training history. That's something that everyone needs to have more grace for themselves too. As in, I've been training for years. Will is an outlier. He's been so good and come in so strong. But not everyone is like that. You've got to have patience with your body and allow it to build that foundation. So, and then the people who maybe are more towards the strength and power side, maybe they're including so much more kilometers and aerobic based work in their training because that's where their gap is, which is where training is so individualized and personalized. And I think that if you are at that really high level and you want to take it seriously, then you probably do need a coach that's going to do personalized programming rather. And I make a 12-week program, and I think it's a really, really good 12-week program. But I wouldn't say that someone who wants to do Elite 15 should follow my 12-week program. You should find a coach that wants to one-on-one train you so that you can improve your weaknesses individually. Yeah. So that's kind of the basis of our programming. We do have a couple of little secret sauce sessions that I'm just not going to include, but that's the base of our programming.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's one of the hardest parts about HYROX is there isn't a blueprint necessarily. There's not like one right way to do it. But that's also, I think, my favorite part about it is like you have to just find what works for you. You have to experiment with yourself, see where you feel the most fit, the most stimulus to your body, and try and just figure it out on your own. I think that's a big element, which I like, that's like functional fitness. It's just like, how do you become the most athletic fit that you can be? And that's so subjective to every person. I'm curious how many miles or kilometers you guys run on a weekly basis.
I would say probably around 50 to 60 is, I think that's what we would be at kilometers,
at the peak. And if you look at a lot of athletes, they'll do more than that. But
there's significantly more and significantly less at the top. But sorry to cut you off, but in our build up, ours is preventing injury as well. So if you're getting to a point where you just keep hitting injuries, well, who cares if old mate's doing 70 kilometers, if you can't do that because you're getting injured, then focus on quality and allow your body time to build up to it. As in, comparing kilometer stats is just silly to me. Do what works for your body, because if you can't get to the start line, you can't run the race.
Yeah.
So get yourself to the start line and then refine your process after that.
Yeah, that's huge.
Race more. That's actually one thing that I've learned is race as much as you can healthily, because every race you're going to get more experience, and then you don't get stuck like us having to try and get times in a small amount of periods and things.
If you guys could say like one thing to somebody, like say if somebody like me that's new to HYROX, I don't really know anything about it, like what piece of advice would you have? If you give like one piece of advice, you guys have said so much valuable information, but like if somebody could focus on one thing
in training
for HYROX, it could be like a mental thing, it could be a training thing. Like, is there one thing that you feel like has made the biggest difference for you that everybody should focus on?
I mean, it's going to sound cliche because we sell programs. Follow a program.
Yeah.
There's so many moving parts. And if you're online, you are almost guaranteed to get caught up in a 1% that doesn't matter. People are always looking for the hacks.
Yeah.
The hack is there are no hacks.
Yeah.
So
the hack is do the work.
Yeah. Do the work.
I love that.
But to answer your question, it comes down to what are you trying to get out of it? So if you're trying to get the best time, then follow a program. But if you have a different goal, then it's going to give a different answer.
Like just having fun or something.
Yeah.
But my genuine answer is they come around so infrequently. It's not like there's 60 HYROXs in your local town every single weekend and they're sold out. So if you're going to have a race that might come to your town once a year, you want to give it your best possible shot. So you're not finishing the race going, oh, I wish I knew more. I wish I gave more. Find a program that's someone that you resonate with who's in the sport. Have a look at it, do your research on it. And if you like the looks of it, just follow it so you can actually just put the effort in as opposed to trying to understand how the whole thing works. You'll have a way better race. You'll be so much more stoked and everyone's going there for a good time. So you're always going to be happy with a good time.
That's great. I love that answer. Tell me about these socks. The Mega socks,
Dude,
the world's greatest socks.
How long do we have? No, as in, so our brand is Mega. And
Does that have anything to do with Meg?
hey,
Not everyone asks
many people
that.
pick up on that.
I mean, it's so obvious, I feel like.
Well, it's kind of both. I'll take this and then you can tell the story. So Meg Alexandra is actually my middle name, but so it kind of has a double meaning. So yes, the obvious is Meg, but Mega is also because it is mega, as in the word mega is actually the same in every language, for one, which I think is cool. But mega itself is about the mega feeling, as in the feeling that you get when you push yourself and you find out what you're capable of. As in when you run your first 10K and you're just glowing afterwards, or you do your 2:44 marathon, which is so badass, by the way, and you just feel amazing. It's that mega feeling, but you can hit it now.
I like that.
Yeah, so the coincidence, or not a coincidence, but the synergies with Meg's name, that's more of a, that was a nice that it worked. But Meg came up with the name. So what Mega stands for, Meg's got a quote. It says, through the feats of others, we realize what's possible. And it's through the feats of our own, we realize we're capable of more. And so
I need to get it tattooed on my arm or something. I don't have any tattoos though, so.
But what's cool is that was the first thing that Meg would lean on, and that's what's the basis for everything we do. And to unpack that, what that means is you can look to other people because they're showing you what's possible. I can look to you and see your 2:44 marathon and I can go, yo, dude, that's so sick.
To crush your excuses.
And then I can start looking and thinking, okay, we're similar fitness. We can do this. Maybe I could do a 2:44 marathon. So you've now given me the hope and the inspiration of what's possible because you've shown me that now. Then when I start putting in the work and start getting the results, then I realize that I'm capable of more.
And it also goes the other way. Sorry to cut you off, but where if, for example, you go, oh, well, I've been through this hardship in my life, I can't do that. Just find someone who's already done it, and then it crushes your excuse. Yeah. As in, if Goggins was a big one for me, but I just thought when I ran my first marathon, I hadn't trained. I'd actually had 3 months rest because I was injured. And I listened to a Goggins and I just thought, oh, I'm just going to run a marathon. And he's run 100 Ks when he's way heavier than me and off the back of no training. And when you do that, you use that to destroy your self-doubt because you go, he's done it. It's possible. So what your mind's telling you is actually a lie. But keep going.
Yeah, we're really passionate about this.
I can tell.
We're all in, people.
I love it.
We are all in on Mega. And so what the socks are was, we didn't even set out to make a sock.
Can I open them?
Yeah, of course.
They're yours.
Yeah. So when we actually set out, we didn't even set out to say we're going to make a sock that's going to do X, Y, and Z. We just knew that we really wanted to get into apparel because we just were using a lot of different brands that we weren't that stoked on, especially the ultras expose a lot. Like when you're doing ultras, that's going to expose your equipment pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And we were running in decent socks, but we were blowing holes in every single race. Every single race had to get a new pair of socks.
We were running in the best socks available, actually.
Yeah. And I mean, they felt great. They would be great for training and things like that. But the moment that you wanted to go put a big race in, it was every race minimum, I'm going to wear through a pair of socks, which you shouldn't be doing that, right? No. Makes sport very expensive. And then fortunately, we came across a business that we didn't even know what we needed. We just knew these are the socks that we sort of like. This is how we want to improve the socks and make our own socks off the back of. And we just knew that we wanted to make a sock. But we knew we wanted to make a full range of apparel. Socks came out first was because we managed to find the right business for the socks. They had an R&D team. So we actually got to work with their team and say, this is what we know we want for running. Because we were doing a lot of running at the time, a lot of ultras, a lot of distance, a lot of training. We knew what we wanted. But then they were able to come to us with the technical components and say, well, this is what you want. Technically, this is what we can do. Coming together with a business like that had the passion, that had the patience as well. Such an important word is patience. They were patient enough to want to work with us. We made 27 versions of socks.
Patient enough to make 28 versions.
That's why on the sock you can see the Ripper 28s.
Yeah.
We made 27 versions of socks before we came to this sock. I'm talking about coming down to, if you see the vent in the toe here, making the vent 2 mil wider, or making the stitch just a little bit tighter so that dirt doesn't come into where the vents are. Because what's the point in having vented socks if dirt can get in for ultras, because that creates blisters. Long story short, we've made this sock that the reason why it's great, there's 3 reasons. One is or 4 reasons. One's the construction. It's constructed incredibly well. There's very few businesses in the world that have this company's machines. Their machines allow them to sew it at a rate that how tightly woven it is makes the sock what it is. The second part
feels like crazy high quality.
Oh man,
It's amazing.
Oh, and it has the grip on the inside.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
love
so
that.
it doesn't
Meg.
slip.
Yeah.
that was Meg. Then the second part is the yarn. The yarns that we've chosen to go on the sock are incredibly well done. Then the third thing is the technology that actually goes into the socks. So there's 2 technologies we have. It's on the back of the packet here. So there's mint and thermo. What they do, mint means the socks don't smell. My socks, I used to say, I wash my socks. I don't wash my socks. I have an amazing wife that washes my socks.
He always goes, yeah, when I wash my socks once a week, I'm like, well, actually, I wash them once a week.
My socks get washed.
Yeah.
We train most days twice a day. I wear 1 pair of socks per week.
These?
That's how good the technology is.
Oh my God.
I mean, I don't wear anything else. This is the only thing we wear. Not even the fact that it's our business. This is the only thing we wear, period. I don't have another pair of socks. So the whole idea behind Mega and what we wanted to make as far as apparel went was, how can we do more with less? How can we have high quality stuff and use it more and have less of it? And that's the basis for the socks. So you can wash those socks once a week. No smell. As long as you dry them out, hang them out between uses and they can get dry, no smell at all. Our mate, 31 marathons, 31 days, same pair of socks, no smell.
That's incredible. Who did that? I think
Guy called Nick McKay.
Oh, maybe I don't know him. I know somebody else that did something similar.
Yeah.
Anyways.
There's a lot of
lunatic.
people dropping lots of marathons.
Yeah, that's awesome though. I'm really excited to wear these.
And then the thermo means that your feet don't sweat. So the thermoregulation means that it actually keeps your feet cooler, keeps your feet cooler for longer. And so you were seeing a bunch of videos that people are putting up about taking off their shirts, completely wringing out their shirt, wringing out the socks, getting these socks. There's no sweat because your feet, the amount it reduces your feet for sweating is wild. So then no blisters, no overheating.
Well, it
It's a super
allows,
comfortable
when they
sock.
get hot, it allows to release release the heat better so your feet stay cooler. And when you're cold, it stores the heat better. I mean, don't ask me how they manage to do that, but it definitely works. We have had people who normally when they run have to strap the middle of their feet because they get such bad blisters. As in, I've seen their blisters. He was even nervous to try them because he didn't want to go and get blisters, and he tried them and now wears them and doesn't get any blisters when he runs.
And these are available worldwide, you said, right?
Well, we're sold out currently in 9 to 12s, which is why you have 5 to 9s.
Nice.
But
That's a good problem
We're
to
actually
have.
sold out completely. As in, I need to update the website because
Really?
the 5 to 9s are now gone. So,
well, then these are gold.
Oh my God. I got like the last pair.
Yeah.
but we do have the next production's coming in first week of Jan. But as in, who should be wearing these things? Like, we wear them every day. Around the house, whatever it is, it's so comfortable. But if you're running and you have any problems with your feet, any blisters at all, just want to run more comfortably, like you just need to at least try these socks, because we've had out of 1,000 people using the socks or more now, we've had 2 people have a blister. It's wild.
That's pretty dang good, right?
Well, I mean, because the sock, we didn't realize how much the sock could do.
You also can't outweigh a bad shoe.
By the sock.
But,
Right.
well, sometimes it does.
Yeah, if
but-
someone's just got the wrong shoe on, then the sock can only get you so far
Yeah.
between the wrong shoe. But I mean, we're so stoked to be even able to have a product like that, because, you know, the easiest thing in the world to do is sell something you believe in.
Yeah.
The hardest thing to do is sell something you don't believe in. So we'll shamelessly talk about the sock is because we know that it works and we absolutely love it. So with the amount of running you're doing, we've got to get you some whites because you said you're a white sock guy.
I'll rock the blacks as long as I have to.
Yeah.
Well, the whites are coming. The whites this drop.
Nice.
Actually, I'm going to talk about this. I know we're short on time, but I think it's really important. Before we actually came over to the US, we received our next bulk order. So we've done one big bulk order, sold out that, and then our second bulk order finally arrived. It was also delayed. Finally arrived, and we were about to start packing them. I opened them and I just said, they're not right. Like visually, I could see that they were different to what they were meant to be. And obviously, that's a horrible feeling. It really sucked. But we always said from the very start, we will not sell anything that we do not want to wear ourselves and are excited to wear ourselves and is not the quality that we know it's meant to be. And so obviously, this is happening like days before we came to America. So it was chaos.
Dang.
But we had a meeting with our manufacturer and obviously they're remaking them now. And thankfully, our customers have been so understanding of the change, but we just want to emphasize how important.
Because we had a whole bunch of pre-orders of the socks. So
Yeah.
email
That's
them
such a
all and
bummer.
say, hey guys, 3 options. You can either just wait, or we can actually replace your current order with the pair of black 5 to 9s,
Which is why we have none left of the 5 to 9.
or you can get a refund. Of everyone that placed orders, and there was a lot of them, we had 3 people ask for a refund. So just shout out to everyone that
That's
did
awesome.
a pre-order for the socks, because it was so helpful, because that would have smashed us.
Yeah.
To go back and you have to pay for clothing. Everything's up front. Same thing with what you're doing with your supplements. You got to pay for everything up front.
Yeah.
So all the cost is already incurred.
Oh, dude,
if people started doing that, then
That can ruin a whole business.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that we are that committed. We're not going to sell anything that we're not stoked with. So the whites are coming and the blacks are being restocked.
first week of Jan.
And we
Nice.
can't wait too, because we've been giving away some of our personal stock of our that we wear so that other people can
Yeah,
have
I
them.
got 3 pairs of socks left. That's
Yeah.
all I got. Yeah.
We just love
But
them.
hang on, that's all you need.
I
Right?
was going to say, that's all you need, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that they are really good for that's been nice is people who are working on their feet all day. You don't just have to be a runner, because they are quite a compressive fit.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have tradies in America, or is that what you
Tradies.
tradesmen's or
Like
props.
like an electrician?
construction
Or
workers
like-
and
okay,
stuff?
yeah.
And
We
then
call them tradies.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense.
nurses and
Yeah,
people like that have been loving them. Plus, great to wear on a plane flight too.
Oh,
Compression tights, mega socks, and
Yeah.
you're sorted. Because we didn't even think that it would be helpful for those people, but just people who are on their feet all day.
Yeah,
It's been really helpful.
that's
for.
awesome. You guys have sold me on it for sure. And you guys have other plans for apparel, right? Not just socks. Like that's kind of the whole vision, right? Is like shirts, shorts, like full workout gear, right?
Yeah, but it's
It's underway right now. So we call it collection 1. So this is the first piece of collection 1, and then men's and women's full line from head to toe, excluding shoes. We've got coming out. It's looking like it's going to be on track for April, but we don't want to give any definitive dates right now, is because we're still pinpointing the right manufacturer to work on what we're working with.
It's designed. We know
Yeah, it's
exactly what we're
designed.
making,
Nice.
and it is so sick. I wish I could
All
tell
the
you.
designs are done, all the fabrics are picked, everything's all done. All the samples are even finished. It's just about
sick.
finding the right business to actually take it to production with. That's what we're working on
Because
right now.
it's so hard to go to manufacturing something super high quality, lower MOQs, and still make it economical. It's extremely hard. That's why most businesses start with lower quality stuff and then build their way up. So we're going full in with, unless we're picking it up as the first thing we want to wear, we're not selling it.
Yeah, that's why you guys have already been successful and going to continue to be, I think. I love that. This has been great, guys. Is there anything we did? I know there's a million things we could touch on. Anything that we didn't talk about that you really wanted to?
Yeah, man. What's up next for you?
Oh, dude, when you talk about me,
Let's go.
I'm just started my first week of training for Tokyo Marathon.
Yeah, that's
So
exciting.
dude,
Yeah.
we're putting it out there into the universe.
Yeah,
239.
239 is the goal. Yeah,
I
Come
got
on, bro.
goosebumps.
See?
It's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what that means?
That
When I
means
get
it's happening.
goosebumps,
let's
it's
go.
happening.
That's got to be a good sign. Right?
Whoa. And they came on as soon as you said
Oh
it.
my gosh.
They're
I'm
like,
that's got to be a good
Yeah.
sign.
they're
I think.
gnarly.
Let's go.
Goosebumps.
Come on, man.
Gotta
239.
hang out with you guys more often.
Oi!
And it's 111 on the 1st
Oh
of
my!
December.
If that's not a sign, I don't know what. it is.
That's Meg's 1111 of the numbers.
We sound like such weirdos now, but
Yo,
seriously,
let's go.
that's
I'll
the
take
two
all the
things.
help I can.
Numbers and goosebumps is how I feel like I know I'm on the right path.
I love
so.
that. Damn. Well, this has been great, guys. Thank you for coming on. Both obviously great people and great athletes they're doing some cool things.
But
in the
hang on,
world.
man. We need to hear a little bit more about this marathon. Tokyo, come on.
I mean, what do you want to know? I mean, I'm gonna train. I got a coach.
Why?
Why 239?
What's the why behind the marathon? Why do you want to do it?
I mean, very similar to everything you guys just said of like the marathon for me, or like this time goal is it's just like a symbol for making myself better. Like it's an excuse to go set a big goal, something I don't know if I can complete or not.
Yep.
Put in the work. And that's my favorite part about running is like the work to reward ratio. You reap what you sow. Whatever effort you put in, it gives right back to you. So I love that part of running. And this is just the next natural progression. I did 252 and then 244. Now hopefully 239.
Good.
And then keep going from there as long as I feel like I want to stick with marathons. But yeah, and marathons are just one element of running. Like there's 100 milers that I know you guys have done, and ultras, and there are 5Ks. Like every event in running has its own challenge. And so right now it's just a marathon for me. But yeah, I love fitness for that aspect. Again, a lot of what you guys already said is just setting a big goal, putting in the work, and going to see what you can do and see what you're capable of.
Oh, I'm so pumped for you. Can't say that marathons are my favorite thing to do, but I am so pumped to see you smash that.
Well, thank you. I hope so. I think we'll get it. I got a great coach. I just started working with him this week. He ran like some of the fastest universities in the States, like crazy fast guy, really good dude. So yeah, we'll see what happens. How about you guys? What do you guys have coming up? So are you gonna skip Anaheim?
Will's definitely not racing. I'm deciding in the next couple of days whether I'll race.
If you don't do Anaheim, what's the plan after that?
We got Melbourne.
Well, the only reason I've decided not to do Anaheim was because obviously I learnt the lesson, don't race sick. But
Maybe because he has pneumonia.
That could be it.
it's because when the week we get back, so on the 14th of December, we've got they announce Elite 15 pairs. It's the first Elite 15 qualification for pairs.
For same gender pairs. So
Okay.
Will's racing with a dude and I'm racing with a girl.
So I'm racing with a good mate, Nick, who's going hard. We had the APAC record, 53:31, which in the scheme of things probably isn't crazy fast, but we know we're so pumped to actually get this race in. And then Meg's racing with Joe, who's qualified for the Elite 15, which is so sick. And so that's the focus. That's the only reason why we're tossing up whether Anaheim's going to happen, because Anaheim's about us, whereas when you're racing pairs, you got to think about your partner as well. So for me, I didn't want to compromise anything. I want to make sure that I'm feeling the best that I possibly can for Nick and that race. And then Meg's just going to see how the body goes if she can get back in the gym. Because if she can race Anaheim, really confident she'll get an elite qualifying time.
Oh, thanks. No pressure. But that would be the goal in racing Anaheim, as in I would be racing to try and get an Elite 15 qualifier. But if I'm not going to race, I'd rather go home earlier because we've still got to adjust to the time. And leaving after Anaheim only gives us a week, less than a week to recover for Melbourne. But I mean, I'm confident we'd do it regardless, but just got to see if it's going to be worthwhile staying and investing the time and obviously finances in actually racing in Anaheim. But always good to get race experience. It's just whether or not I know I can race it, but whether I feel like I can race it well. I've already done one race to get experience. Sick. It would be different if I was 100% and I was back to normal training now, but I've literally trained yesterday since Dallas. So not saying I won't, but just going to decide and setting Wednesday as a date for me to decide.
Nice. Well, I'm excited to see what you end up doing and excited to see what else you guys do. When's the next singles race after Anaheim? Do you have anything
Brisbane.
planned yet?
Auckland.
We're still looking at the moment.
Okay.
There's Auckland and Brisbane coming up that'll be close races to us.
Nice.
But it depends if we want to go and drop a super speedy mixed doubles time instead or something like that. We'll see.
Well, I'm stoked to see what you guys do. Like,
Sweet,
I don't know.
brother.
I love seeing good people that work hard succeed.
Yeah,
It's like
likewise,
nothing makes
man.
me happier. So
So
thanks for
good.
coming on, guys. Where's the best place for people to connect with you if they want to reach out, send a message, or connect with you guys at all?
Best place to be, I reckon there'd be two would be Meg's Instagram. So just Meg Sutherland. And then couldn't change it to Meg Martin, too common. So Meg Sutherland, and then Mega is This Is Mega.
Beautiful.
Oh, and then for the training programs, it's Train to Go Squad.
But this is Mega. It's Mega with a 3, not a
Okay.
E. Yeah.
And that's on Instagram?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Train to
And
Go
then,
Squad.
but stay tuned on Meg's socials because we're just about to launch Train to Go subscription.
Nice.
So at the moment, people go on, they buy the one-off programs, they get access to a school page. We've just been working on a new platform That's going to launch in the next 2 weeks.
It's
So
very exciting.
everything all in the one spot, bringing everyone together, access to all the programs with one membership. And that's what our biggest focus in business has been right now. So we're pumped to launch that for Train to Go.
Heck yeah, you guys are doing some cool things. This is awesome. I'm
But
stoked
we're
for
all
you
in.
guys. I love it. All right, well, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having
we'll
us.
See you guys later.
Thanks, that was.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a review, and share it with a friend. We'll see you in the next one.